All right. Good morning, everybody. Oh, Clif's doing
Hello.
a famous photo. So good at that. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I know we have people just now logging on, so welcome to those that are joining us this morning. Welcome to 417 Magazine's Life Interrupted series presented by Burrell Behavioral Health. I'm Logan Aguirre. I'm 417 Magazine's president and associate publisher. On Tuesday, if you were joining us, we spoke with the Davis and Bade families about how COVID-19 has impacted their homes as they balance working from home, parenting, homeschooling, refereeing sometimes on a daily basis. And I loved what Shauna Davis shared when she said, if the only thing I accomplished during this quarantine time is quality time, then that has to be a win. So we appreciate her just honesty, and some of us aren't getting all the Pinterest things checked off the list. Some of us are just trying to get through. Today, we're concluding our 4-part series with College Interrupted, featuring Missouri State President Clif Smart and outgoing student body president Lahi Dirie. Together, Clif and Lahi will talk through the challenge of the changing college experience as classes have gone online, commencement has been rescheduled, and the job market has become very uncertain. A huge thank you to Clif and Lahi for being so open and honest and taking their time today. Of course, we want to say thank you to Burrell Behavioral Health for sponsoring this series. Burrell works tirelessly to serve our community with more than 45,000 clients across 25 area counties. Their team members work to form meaningful connections and create individualized care plans while collaborating with families, schools, and healthcare systems to provide the appropriate care for each situation. In light of COVID-19 and May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we asked them to partner with us to discuss how to navigate our new normal. So thank you, Burrell, for investing in our region and investing in this series with us. Today, I'd like to introduce Dr. Shelly Farnan. Dr. Farnan is a licensed psychologist who serves as Burrell's System Director of Diversity and Inclusion and spearheads its daily Be Well initiative that has been leading communities through self-care and connection during this time. Dr. Farnan, thank you for all of your guidance and amazing mental health insight throughout this entire series. I'm kind of sad that this is our last one.
I really am too, Logan.
We might just have to still hang out every once in a while at 11 over Zoom.
Let's do it.
For you at home, if you have questions that come to mind during this webinar, you can submit them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. We just ask that you send it to all panelists and all attendees so that everyone can be a part of the conversation. The COVID-19 wave caused universities across the nation to pause operation and move classes online and postpone graduations. With almost 30,000 students and employees, Missouri State is basically its own little city. So decisions had to be made for a pretty significant population of people. So to Clif, I can't imagine the decisions you're having to make during this pandemic. However, I can testify along with many others that you're truly leading with such transparency and grace, and we're thankful for your leadership and commitment. So we'll go ahead and get things started with you. If you know and love Missouri State University, then you know President Clif Smart. Finishing his 9th year, Clif has served as the university president, advocating for Missouri State and Jefferson City, raising its reputation through community engagement and engaging with students, and even snapping some selfies with them, like he snapped one just earlier. So hopefully we'll all see that on Twitter here in a little bit. Clif, hello, and thank you for being here today.
Good morning. Good morning, Logan, Shelly, Lahi. Good to be here.
Next, we have Lahi. He's a senior at Missouri State, majoring in health communication with a minor in healthcare management. Lahi is a very busy man around campus, back when there were busy things to do around campus. He served as student body president for the university. He's also involved with his social fraternity, Theta Chi, was a university ambassador where he gave tours to prospective students and their families, and all of this while holding a job down on campus at the counseling center. Lahi, hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone.
So Clif, on Friday, March 20th, you began working almost exclusively from home due to the concern that interactions with others was unsafe. When did you first realize that COVID-19 was going to immensely impact Missouri State University faculty, staff, and students?
So, the coronavirus came on was on the horizon in late January. We did kind of our first communication to our university community was from the health center on January 28th. I followed up with one on the 29th. fast forward 6 weeks, Clay Goddard, our healthcare director, came to see me. I looked this up this morning on Monday, March 9th. And he came to see me and to tell me what he predicted this pandemic was going to look like. And the first thing on his agenda was we had to stop doing events. And the next thing was the big high school basketball tournament, state tournament that we host here. And I thought he was nuts. And literally that week on the 12th, the Missouri Valley Conference canceled its women's tournament. On the 13th, we canceled school when the first Springfield COVID-19 case was made public on that Thursday evening. As you said, a week later, I'm working exclusively from home. The next week, we had the stay-at-home order. And here we are 2 months after that, and the world, our world at least, has significantly changed. And so I was a little bit hesitant to really embrace this, but I think the leadership of folks like Clay Goddard has proved to be right on. And that's why we're in as good a position as we are in right now.
I agree. It did seem completely out of the realm of possibility that we would have to change all the things we changed, and it happened so fast.
Yep.
So then Lahi, from your perspective, you went home for spring break, or maybe you went, I don't know what you did for spring break, but while you were on spring break, you found out that it would be extended. And then on March 30th, all in-person classes would be provided through online methods. So what were your initial emotions that your senior year would be coming to a close in such a dramatic way?
Yeah, I knew a little bit about kind of what the university was doing, but didn't know a lot more. But once the official news went out, even though I knew a little bit out of it, it hit me really hard. I was really upset. I knew kind of like later on that day, I was kind of getting Outlook calendar invites like all being canceled. Some of the last that I was looking forward to. I recall also crying, just didn't know exactly like what I was feeling. It wasn't sad, but it was, I guess you can kind of call it a little bit sad. But I was very shocked. I knew how COVID-19 was being like very serious, but in that moment, that's when kind of it affects you a little bit more personally. And I was like, okay, this is like very serious. And a lot of things I was looking forward to, especially with like my family, my friends, a lot of those were being either rescheduled or canceled.
So Dr. Farnan, we have two perspectives here. One, the leader trying to navigate an entire university through this, and then also from the student perspective of just how quickly and abruptly things changed, and the way that everything as we knew it, just changing so fast, and the different emotions that come with that. What would you say to others who have experienced the same thing?
Goodness, I am just thinking through, like, Clif, listening to you kind of recount the timeline is almost, and I know I'm here to offer healing words for everyone watching with us today and later, but that was almost healing for me to recount that in my mind. And that gets us back to the science of being able to name it and express it and witness it together, and that sense of support and community that we just have to have right now. So that's the first thing coming to mind, Logan. And then Lahi, just hearing it from your I've been doing a ton of reading, reaching out to colleagues who serve in the university spaces. I had mentioned before we went live today that I was able to join a couple of tough talks with MSU, Dr. Lyle Foster, Wes Pratt. But hearing it, so I can learn it one way as we're just kind of sharing and reading the reports and reading the data about what the college experience is life is like right now. But Lahi, being with you in this moment and listening and learning a little bit more about your own story, it taps my emotions as well. And so I think that it gets us back to that key piece, Logan, that this is all about our emotional health and wellness, and the emotional care that we give to ourselves, and that we haven't had this education up to this point. Many of us haven't had this education. When we think through all of our education, that really doesn't start until the college years. And then, like Lahi, you were like, I'm not sure what I was feeling. It's probably because we were experiencing so many emotions at the same time, and we don't have time to prepare for that. We know our brains are safety brains, so we're at risk. And so there are just so many things that you all have shared there that just really highlights the importance of coming together, taking care of our emotional health and wellness, and bringing together our community to do this together.
Yeah, then on March 31st, Cliff, you explained in your Cliff Notes that Missouri State would not host a traditional spring commencement. But one thing that you did was requested input from graduating seniors and families on what format they would prefer for a non-traditional commitment or commencement. So I know that decision was difficult to make, and actually, is it today or tomorrow would have been the spring commencement ceremony?
Tomorrow, yeah,
Tomorrow.
3 ceremonies tomorrow.
So I know commencement is one of the things you look forward to the most each year, and I know Lahi was looking forward to it, of course. So, walk us through kind of making that decision and gathering that input and why that was so key.
So Lahi's talked about kind of all the things that got canceled, and so from Greek Jam to research forums to the Public Affairs Hall of Fame. I mean, there's so many things in March and April that wind up the year and connect people together, and are a big part of what our engagement in the community. And we're seeing those things fall away. We held on to commencement as long as we could because it's probably the culmination and the most important thing we do. We're going to graduate over 2,800 students tomorrow, and a third of them are the first in their families to ever graduate from college. It's not just the beginning of a career, it's the change of the trajectory of whole families. And it's such a meaningful event. And so ultimately it became clear we were not going to be able to do this. And so we did. We wanted to reach out to people. We surveyed folks. We met with Lahi and his Student Government Association team, and everything that came back. And this was, I learned later, consistent with what the folks at Dirie and Evangel and OTC were hearing. And that is, our students wanted an in-personal experience, wanted to celebrate with their friends, their teachers, their family members. And so we looked at a variety of situations and trying to, pull the crystal ball out and guess the future. We thought high schools are doing it in August, but there's still likely to be some limits to the number of people that can go into the arena. And we wanted to do it as close to usual as we could. And so we settled on the Sunday of homecoming. I think it's October 18th. Our homecoming's a little earlier this year. Our hope is, we won't be into the winter yet. We'll have let the virus clear out, and we will have one or more meaningful homecoming experiences. And the added advantage of that is students can come back, re-engage with their friends that are still here, hopefully have a phenomenal celebration of connected with homecoming on that date. We've gotten overwhelmingly positive responses on social media to that decision, and so just crossing our fingers and hoping it's the right thing. But as we hear often, the virus is going to have a say in whether our plans can come off or not.
Yeah, this darn virus controlling everything. Lahi, your story, your background and story is really a unique one as far as your mom and her background. So can you talk a little bit about probably what it means to her and to your family to have you be graduating from Missouri State?
And you might give a little bit of your story, Lahi, for folks that don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a little bit about my story. I was born in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and then my family and I migrated from Saudi Arabia to Syria, and then from Syria to America. One of the main decisions that my mom just kept moving was just better opportunities in terms of like the forefront was education. She knew what the importance of education, just knowing knowledge about something that you are passionate about and how far you'll go in life with that. So, so she just kept moving and moving, just so that she can find a better opportunity for myself and the other 6 of my siblings. So I know a lot of other students who have various stories. It all stems from families sacrificing a lot to get to where we are at right now at Missouri State. So pretty much it means a lot to my mom. I mean, my mom, senior year started back in August, and I remember before convocation was starting, like she cried on the phone right before I was about to speak. And I was like, we can't do this right now, Mom. I was like, I'm already nervous. So, and then just throughout the year, she was just very excited and planning just a lot of my last. I remember tomorrow, she pretty much had an itinerary, and I kid you not, my mom is someone that goes on with the flow, but this is one of the only events where she's like, we're going to be there 2 days before, not even the night before. So it was an exciting moment for me, my family, and so many for a lot of students and their families. So it means a lot for commencement just because it is a time to kind of see as you walk across that stage. It honestly shows all your hard work, but also all the hard work that your family has put in. So it is kind of an acknowledgement, not only for the students who are graduating, but others who have been a part of their life.
Good Lord, that was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh man. So, Shelly, Shelly, you say something.
Thanks a lot, Logan. Lahi, for one, I want to meet your mom. I don't know. I think you just said it so beautifully. So whenever I reached out to colleagues that worked in the university setting, so much of what you just said is what they said, please be sure that you share with the community. That entire the entire impact upon the family and how unique every single senior and every single college student's experience is. And so I read your blog, and you acknowledged in your blog how much your mom had just committed to you and to your siblings to get an education. And I don't know, I don't think I have the words for it. And I think that's a great reflection of what we're living through right now, Lahi. And you just said it beautifully. So thank you for sharing your story. And I think it's just going to take a moment for all of our brains to really let your family and your experience really sink in for all of us. So thank you.
Lahi, knowing that the university was really looking to you and your peers and the students for feedback, I'm sure that was really helpful, knowing that these decisions were being made, really taking everybody's feelings into account and not just, reacting to just to the disease and the situation. Yeah, it's important that, that the community is considered in all this. So you guys have both experienced major changes in your routine. Lahi, you're not necessarily waking up at 8 a.m. for class, although 8 a.m. seems really late to me to wake up, but I guess when you're in college, that seems early. It's a long time ago for me.
Hold on to it until real life hits you, so.
And then Clif, your schedule is normally, you've probably seen your house more in the last 2 months than you'd ever seen it before. So can you guys just kind of talk about, Clif, what it has been like being separated from your colleagues, especially as you're trying to manage through such a big transition?
So kind of back in the middle of March, essentially my bosses, the Board of Governors, told me to stay home. They said, one of the worst things that can happen to the university is you get sick and you're incapacitated and you're out of commission. We need you, so stay home. That was the directive. And I have mostly followed that. I've only been back on campus 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months. And so I am working from home, lots of Zoom meetings, sometimes I refer to it as my queen function, where I go out and talk to people and promote the brand and talk about the university and all the great things that are happening in Jeff City, in DC, around the country. All that's gone. And we're just in crisis management. And so I miss the interaction with my colleagues, with students, with community leaders. To some extent, it continues on this format that we're doing it today and on phone calls. But for me, you miss the casual interaction. the one-off conversations that occur that spark an idea that then leads to things, right? Everything is now scheduled. Everything is formal. And so all of that kind of spontaneity is gone. All of that casual interaction is gone. The brainstorming sessions you had never planned on because someone says sparks an idea. And then, I miss having a staff. I'm not the most technologically savvy person. And so now you're just kind of on an island by yourself trying to figure stuff out. I miss my chair. I miss driving through Starbucks. And now it seems like I work all the time. If I'm awake, I'm at the office now. And so you get up, you start at 7 or 7:30, you work all night. And I miss that separation of home and work. I was one of those people that didn't bring work home. Well, now work and home are the same. And so I'm trying to manage through that. So I'm looking forward to going back to the office. I know others are looking forward to maybe have working from home permanently. I'm looking forward to going back to the office.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think some kind of balance of the two, but yeah, when you really thrive in environments where you're with your people, this has been really, really difficult. And Lahi, for you with your peers and all the things you're involved in at Missouri State and the energy that you get from being on campus and being around your friends, can you talk a little bit about the emotions you've experienced just being separated from your friends and the people that you connect with?
Yeah. I will admit the whole extended spring break, I was just laying in bed. I didn't do much. It was really weird to not be able to kind of like see others, but also be able to kind of be on campus and just do what we were doing the past like 3 years. So that was kind of hard. I had no motivation to kind of do any schoolwork. And that was very similar to my other peers because we'd text each other like, hey, have you started on this assignment? And we're like, no, not yet. So the most common response I've used was no, not yet. Mm-hmm. But in terms of just kind of being on campus, I mean, it does bring a type of energy that oftentimes I don't know how to explain it honestly, but it puts you in a better mood, honestly. I also realized how much school is kind of a part of your life. I mean, you kind of go with the flow in terms of going to classes, but when that is taken away from you, sometimes you're just kind of lost. Also, some things that President Smart also mentioned. I mean, some of these things we just do because it's part of our duties or it's part of just being a student, and then that's taken away, and then you really don't know what to do with your time. So that was really hard to kind of get back on a routine that I had to kind of put myself up front and figure out what's going to work for me. Still, I mean, the semester's almost done, but I had to actually kind of carve out some time that it's going to be like school time instead of just like watching Netflix or just laying in bed.
Yeah. I think Dr. Farnan would say it's healthy that you gave yourself that time to just sort of be sad or be unmotivated, rather than just trying to continue to go and maybe not work through those emotions. Dr. Farnan, what would you say about the importance of routine and coping with some of those emotions as they come?
I think what we're learning firsthand here is think of little kids who are living through abuse. So that could be sexual abuse, physical abuse, and then they show up to school and we're still throwing, and that's not really a great term, we continue to teach as we would every other child who's living in a warm, supportive home where all of our basic needs are being met and then exceeded most of the time. And so then we start seeing these kids act out. We think it's attention problems. We think it's behavioral disorders. We get connected with a psychologist really quickly. Let's test our kid. We got big problems here. However, I think what we're learning firsthand is how much our brain needs to stop. whenever we are living through an experience that could be considered a traumatic experience. I want to be really cautious with that language because all of us are going to respond to this experience differently. I'm not saying we're all going to develop PTSD. That's absolutely not what I want to express here today. But it's that concept, and I think that helps us understand education a little bit differently, that we really have to get to know individuals and what they're living through in order to teach folks effectively. So let me get back on target here. Our brains love to be in control, and routine offers that. We all have an innate sense of wanting to be in control. So we build a plan, we know what we want to do, we know what we need to do, and we know the stuff that helps us to feel better. If that's exercising, connecting with our friends, we plan all of that. If I think through all of the families and the people that we've been able to talk to, although the schedules are unique, we all refer to one of them. We all refer to, we had and that helps us balance life, like President Smart is saying, and as well as Lahi is acknowledging, that helps us stay motivated. We know what to expect, so we know when we need to get to bed, and we know when we need to eat. All of that helps. And it helps us to balance work life, school life, all of those things. However, getting stuck in a routine, relying solely on a routine, is what we are also learning cannot be our only strategy, because life constantly throws us curveballs. Some of us more than others, and this is where I could go on a tangent into minority identities and privilege and folks who are less privileged, and how that all informs how much resilience we've already built and how much resilience we have left to build, given our life experiences. So routine is wonderful. As a mental health professional, I've taught folks my entire career and will continue to teach folks. We have to have a plan. We have to have a schedule. Let's get one set. And now I will also do a way better job to say that can't be our only strategy, because we're going to have the curveballs. Life is going to get interrupted, and it demands a pause. So much like Lahi shared with us during spring break, letting ourselves, and I'm going to start sounding like a broken record here, it's absolutely okay, and I want to clarify, it's absolutely necessary that we pause. We acknowledge what's going on. We name what's going on. We feel it. We express it. We have it witnessed. All of these things that we've been talking through over this Life Interrupted series all applies to where we are today, because it's back to the science and emotional care. To give ourselves permission to feel, permission to grieve in healthy and productive ways. What we don't want to do is move into avoidance, or let those around us move into avoidance, and using strategies such as substance use or misuse, or slipping in the wellness spaces, and when we can see it, we're not reaching out. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Avoiding, putting our heads down, trudging ahead, regardless of how we're feeling, and all of the warning signs going off in our bodies, using that just grin and bear it, keep moving, none of that is productive, folks. If we truly want to come out of this pandemic okay, healthy, able to succeed, much like we would have before the pandemic, we have to pause. We have to do what Lahi did and Lahi's pals and buddies and families are doing. We have to say it. We have to say what we're feeling, even if it's that we don't know why or what we're feeling. We have to rely on the science to take care of our emotional health. Because I think the final thing that I want to say here is back to, we know that our emotions are tied to our environment, and all of that informs our physical and mental health. So Lahi, thank you, and President Smart, thank you for being models and how to honestly acknowledge how we're feeling and what it is that we're living through. That helps all of us to do that very same thing, and that's what we need to be doing right now.
Thank you, Shelly. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Lahi, when you and I chatted last week, we were talking about what's next for graduates, college graduates, as far as the job market. And, just a few months ago, anybody coming out of college was in high demand. There's more jobs than there is talent. And, especially in the industry that you're looking to go into, so many opportunities. And now that just looks a lot different. Jobs in contexts that you had made that had said, call us in May and June, those conversations don't look the same now. So, how has what does that uncertainty feel like for you and some of your peers?
Yeah, you stated that really well. And finding jobs or internships have been a lot hard now with everything that's going on. And it kind of puts you in a kind of weird feeling, because you're done a great job at college, you've are passionate about what you were studying, and now you're excited and you're like, what's next? I'm on the top of the mountain and I'm ready to grab the next opportunity, but that next opportunity is not here yet. So me personally, I mean, I've been a little upset not finding something, but I know a lot of other people who do need an internship for their roles that they're trying to get into for full-time or for their majors. And it's been tough. I know some of my friends who constantly spend 3 to 4 hours each day looking for internships and job opportunities, and they don't hear back from anything, even the ones that they had leads on. So it sucks. I mean, I know right now a lot of those companies and recruiters, employers, I mean, it's not something that they imagined during this time. And I know if we weren't going through COVID-19, I think they'd be eager to reach out to people and go through those application process a lot faster. So, but I mean, I think all we have to do is just kind of stay the course, but it has been a little upsetting to kind of, before March, it was very exciting. I was personally even told by a lot of people, like, there's a lot of opportunities for you, like even go into things that doesn't even relate to healthcare communication. You'll find a lot of opportunities to dip your toes into many areas. And I was really excited to do more research during spring break, but I couldn't find much, honestly, since then.
So Dr. Farnan, that fear and uncertainty, and also separating that it's not personal, because especially someone as ambitious as Lahi, who has done all the right things and has the beautiful resume that any employer would love to have come across their desk. What strategies or advice would you have on managing those emotions?
Yeah, we're living in such a time of uncertainty, and uncertainty naturally leads to anxiety. I think as much as we can connect in the community, normalize our feelings, express it, try not to cover it up. Keep talking about it, Lahi, because what our brains are going to do is I'm not good enough. And this is a natural time for us to feel that anyways. I mean, as we exit college, we're trying to, like you just said, like as we're entering real life, and college is real life. And then there is this next developmental phase that happens. And I think it's so uncertain anyways as we navigate what jobs are going to come next. And so I think we have to keep talking about it. We have to continue to build our own resilience. So whatever that is for you, Lahi, and for myself, Logan, President Smart, that's where we really want to look into those prevention strategies and self-care strategies. So as we continue forward in looking for jobs and navigating what's next for us, the best thing that we can do is take care of our brain to help us make those next best decisions. So if that's making sure that we're getting enough rest, eating healthy, water consumption, I think we minimize that a lot, but really focusing on those basic needs. And then what is it that we all need, that our brains uniquely need to show up in the world the way that we want to? And that's what we have control of right now, is taking care of ourselves. If we have control over anything, it's really trying to do the things that help our brains function best while living through all these uncertainties.
Clif, one thing that you and your faculty really were intentional about is reaching out. You personally called some parents. So can you just talk about that, why it was important for you and your faculty and staff to really help parents and students through this in a really personal way that maybe most university of your size wouldn't be able to do or take the time to do?
So as Lahi has described, with the 20,000 students on our campus here, we knew this transition of moving 80% of our classes that were seated online, closing everything down, sending people home, that was going to be traumatic. And on top of that, the concern about the disease and what that was going to do. And so we knew our students needed support. So one of the first things we decided we were going to do, in contrast to others, is we kept our residence halls open. So, there were lots of examples of people making decisions that on a Friday, residence halls are closing, you have to be out by Monday. And we just thought that would be adding trauma to trauma. And so we have students that don't have a safe place to go home, that don't have any home to go to, or can't get to their home, particularly if for example, if they were from New York City or if they were from China. And so we decided to keep a dining hall open, keep residence halls open. If people couldn't get back to campus to collect their stuff, that's okay. And so we tried to make decisions that were student friendly because we knew there were going to be challenging times. And so one of the things we did was change our pass-fail policy to allow students to take classes pass-fail. It wouldn't hurt their grade point, would still count as a gen ed, they could still be an honors college, etc. We moved deadlines back. We set up a hotline for students to send any question or issue, and then we would respond to that. We did a survey of all of our students through Blackboard. We got over 7,000 responses, and we began to work through those responses. And so that resulted in setting up calling teams. We had a parent calling team. We had a mental health calling team. We had a housing food need calling team. We had a current student calling team. On the survey, one of the questions was, I just want to talk to someone. There were 300 students that said they just wanted to talk to someone. So we called all those students. I was on the parent calling team, probably made about 20 contacts, and just to get a sense from what was happening with students that had moved home. It was good to get that input. And then, of course, more recently, we've got the federal money that we're to be a pass-through and get to our students. We've delivered the first chunk of that. Students can now apply for another $1,000 of help. And so that process is going on. And maybe most importantly, we encouraged our faculty to relax the rigor a little bit. It's more challenging to do group projects now. Maybe it's not possible to teach every concept. Maybe we got to rethink what the final exam looks like. And so we've encouraged folks to be more flexible, and that one of the things that was really gratifying was on the survey, we had over 2,000 students specifically call out a faculty or staff member that had done something above and beyond to make their experience better. And so I'm really proud of our team and the work that they have been doing to help make this a little less terrible for our students that also had to go through this transition.
Yeah, you guys took a very human approach, and I think that speaks a lot about your leadership and just the culture at Missouri State. And then when we know from what Dr. Farnan has been telling us how important connection is, that you guys really sought to, seeked out moments in which you could connect. I'm sure that went a long way. Dr. Farnan, is there anything you would add?
Yeah, just that that's just awesome. I was just writing down great ideas on some of those spaces. And I think that's what we need to, I haven't found anything on this quite yet, and I continue to look for it, and maybe I just need to get my thoughts written down. Our brains need something different right now. I think, so as a therapist, I think what I've been trained to do is enter into a one-on-one therapeutic experience and teach, and we are all trained to do life a certain way or do leadership a certain way, and all bets are off right now because our brains just need human connection and authenticity and genuineness and empathy and compassion, all the things that I am all about, and yet it's just kind of hard to do sometimes. And now I think strangely it's offered us an opportunity to really do that, and that's what I'm responding to, listening to how you all have led President Smart.
Well, and it really is kind of reinventing things. And so typically if you don't come get your stuff from the residence hall by a certain day, we box it up for you and we bill you for that. And you were like, no, we can't do that to people in the middle of a pandemic. And so again, it's helping people kind of get out of the processes that they've done and say, hey, let's evaluate what people are going on now. How are we going to do textbook return when people are literally all across the country? Well, so the decision is we're going to pay for them mailing the books back rather than charging them the $24 to do that, right? Again, you've got to empower people to say, hey, you can make that decision, and we're just going to figure it out because it's it's the right thing to do in the current situation. And so I think by and large, once our folks knew that they were empowered to do those kinds of things, and we didn't have to necessarily follow the letter of every procedure that we've operated under for the last 115 years, well, then it also sparked creativity and some initiatives to try to do better for folks.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So, you know, Lahi, he just mentioned about some students staying on campus, which is such a great thing that the university can offer. But I know you have some friends who are there, and it just feels weird. You know, I know they're happy to have a safe place to be, but being on campus doesn't feel like it normally does. And then you have had to go back home and live under your mom's roof again, which, you know, you probably thought that wasn't going to be something permanent ever again. So can you talk about a little bit about the, you know, what you know of the experience for those who are still on campus, and then kind of what yours has been like?
Yeah. I know those who are around Springfield and on campus, it is a lot different. I spent my past 2 summers here in Springfield being a student orientation leader also, and it feels different when students are not here in Springfield. So I can't imagine like their emotions and stuff. I mean, when I go on a simple walk on campus, I already get sentimental and just kind of sad. So I can't imagine for those students who are already in the residence halls and what they're going through. It definitely sucks. In terms of going back home, and along my other friends also, especially other students who do go back home, it is kind of weird. I mean, you're kind of living alone and more independent the past 4 years, and then out of nowhere, you go back home in the middle of March, and you don't know the boundaries are set between your family members and yourself. So, I mean, luckily, my mom was a little bit understanding, but she was like, well, what are you doing now? How's it going? So it's like, it's weird because you're usually doing that in the summer. And right now you're just kind of worried about finals and just schoolwork and things like that. So they don't understand what it's like being a student, obviously, but you also don't understand what it's like being in their shoes, living at home, especially working from home. So I think both sides, it's like, it sucks and it's weird. Again, it's one of those feelings that you don't really know what you're feeling. It's just not.
Yeah, and recognizing what it probably feels like to the parents too, and you know, they're trying to understand how to help you, but also have their own stressors that they're navigating right now, as we all are. So, so Dr. Farnan, would you have anything to add to that?
Just that none of us have done this before, and so that's my. Listening to Lahi, that's just the thing that's coming back up. None of us have done this before. We're all navigating new roles, new ways to look at life. Some of us now are now considering, you know, our experiences as we try to return to work or return to the community, and we haven't really quite processed what it is that we just experienced through the stay-at-home order, and so it leads to this an opportunity for extreme exhaustion, and I think that's just what comes to mind, Logan, as I was listening to Lahi and his family situation of all navigating new roles under the same roof. Just think of all the dynamics that are going on there and how we have to try to reorient. Some of us, it makes me think of, so I know Lahi you said that your mom has been understanding. I've had the honor to talk to some college students who have returned to home, and now families just expect them to take care of the other children in the home. And someone shared with me that a sibling has a substance use disorder that they had no idea about. And so now it's like we're still trying to learn, and we might not have great internet connection. And now we're all trying to navigate these new roles, and parents just think we can take care of the family since we're home now and not in school. And it's just a lot. It is a lot to process and navigate through.
So as we kind of look ahead, Clif has a crystal ball, and he knows exactly how this is all going to play out. He just assured us that right before this call. But the university is discussing the transition of opening back up in the fall and what the college experience might look like in this new normal. And Clif, you have to think about so many different people and populations as you're making these decisions, your faculty and your students. So talk to us about the steps you guys are going through to figure out what this might look like.
So a couple of weeks ago, we did officially say we will be open, our residence halls will be open, we will be delivering seated classes in the fall. We thought it important to tell people that. But having made that decision, then there are thousands of little decisions that underlie that, because we've got to, if we're going to do that, and most colleges in Missouri and in the Midwest, that's their plan. Well, it's not going to look exactly the same. We've got to do it in a way that to the extent we can protects the safety of our faculty, staff, and students. Fortunately, most of the students are going to be in that category of they're going to be resilient and they'll be able to fight through this if they were to get the virus. But then we have all sorts of people that work for us that have, you know, by the time you get to be my age, you have underlying health issues and things that if you got the virus would be potentially devastating. And so trying to do it slowly, trying to do a gradual return to campus, which we will do over the next couple of months. And then you got to think about the timeline, right? Because so we've been in coronavirus hell for the last 2 months. Well, it's longer than that. It's 3 months until classes restart. Well, think about how much the world has changed in the last 2 months. The world is going to be different in 3 months. We don't know how exactly, but we know it's going to be different. And there are all sorts of contingencies then that you have to plan for. And so our number one plan is to have a modified reopening, to extend the class day, to have more early classes, more late afternoon classes, more evening classes, more online classes. We'll go from about 17% of our classes being online to about 30%. We'll do more first block classes. We want to get labs and those introduction to college classes done in the first 8 weeks instead of spreading them out over the whole semester. And all of that then allows us to reassign classes so they can be in bigger rooms. So you can have a class of 40 in a room that seats 100. And so working through all of that now, I think we've got our academic classes set for the fall because students are registering for them now. We're redesigning what residence hall living looks like. We're redesigning what the back to school weekend looks like, spreading that out. I think we'll have lots more small events and many fewer big events to start the school year. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. I actually think it's in small groups is where we meet up, make our connections, right? And so again, I think we will have a robust, engaged residential experience in the fall that's going to look significantly different than it did a year ago. And I think that's okay. And in the meantime, we contingency plan for if the virus doesn't allow that plan to go forward. But I think it's important. I think it's important for the university, for our city, for our state, and for our students that we plan to have as normal an experience as we can in the fall. And so that's what we're doing.
Well, so many things to think about, and you guys are doing a great job managing through all of that, so many angles. And yeah, a lot of us can kind of have a slow roll back into what our new normal looks like, but you guys have a hard start. So yours has to start at a certain time, and there's a lot to think about leading up to that. And I know, some of us have anxiety about what it looks like to go to the new normal. And, Clif, you and I had even talked about, it's kind of been nice to not be so busy and get to go on walks with Gail or, just sort of have a little more breathing room. So Shelly, what would you say to help people stay mentally and emotionally healthy as we start to maybe step back into the new normal?
I think we need I think we need a daily call with President Smart. Anyone else out there just love to hear him say, we're reopening, we are doing this. He also puts in that caveat of we have contingency plans, but I am so tuned into him and his smile whenever he says we need to know that we are going to reopen and have these, they're going to be smaller events, but we're going to have the same events, just they look different. Our brains need the hope. So whatever that means for each of us listening today, we have to find what it is that creates hope in our brain so we create that dopamine to keep going. I feel more hopeful now listening to President Smart than I probably did coming to work today, just with the amount of newness that continues to come every day. So I think that's one. Keep the hope. Find what it is that is hopeful to you. A lot of the same things that I've been saying, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. I want us to be informed about the potential of what is coming with that second mental health curve. I want us to be informed there that now we know that 50 to 75% of us are acknowledging that this experience has negatively impacted our mental health. We're starting to hear more about deaths of despair, and those are deaths related to substance misuse and abuse, as well as suicide. Those things scare me as a mental health professional, as a family member, as a leader, as a parent. I want us to be informed there because we have opportunity to reach out and connect. I didn't know Lahi before today, and now I want to find him on social media, and I want to offer like, hey, can I connect with you? Logan, before this experience, I didn't know you. What I can do is look out for each of you and say, hey, we're in this together. And for me, that feels awesome. That's what, to me, spurs that hope that I need. I have no idea what's coming next, but I know I have developed some amazing relationships through all of this that's going to help. I hope you all are looking out for me. I'll be looking out for you. That's how we get through this in an amazing way, I hope. Let me look at my list here because I get excited when I get in those emotional spaces, and I probably forgot a whole lot. Yeah, in the name of inclusion, less hatred, less blaming, more inclusion. Let's operate with love. The last thing that we need right now, like Clif, when you said the same things we've been doing for the past 150 years, it got me back to racism and hatred and discrimination and systemic racism and oppression. And I'm going to be cautious because I could get on a roll with that. Now is not the time for that. Now more than ever, we are all human. None of us are immune from COVID-19. And goodness, if this is not a lesson that we all are one human race, I don't know what will be. I think that's the other thing I really want to just share today of love, people. That's what saves our brains, not hatred, not discrimination.
Well, and we're all going through this exact same thing. So there's nobody that's not impacted by it in one way or the other. So there's some togetherness in that's helpful. Clif?
That's my dog. I'm sorry.
That's okay. My dogs have been in plenty of these Zoom calls. So Robin Robeson did ask a question, Clif. Is there anything you would have done differently now that you can see things in hindsight?
I think the timeline we're on is really good. And I don't look back and say, maybe some earlier preparation, just because maybe I was in a little bit of denial that this was actually going to impact us. I think I could criticize myself for that. One of the things I think we've done really well, and I think this causes frustration sometimes, is trying to make decisions on a timeline that makes sense, right? So we can't decide right now what our testing policy is going to be in August, for example, because there'll be all sorts of new tests available. There'll be different tests. There'll be different costs for the tests. And so there are just some things that you can't decide now. And so we try to avoid, and I'll make fun of the University of Texas, which is a great school. I remember this specifically on a Friday at like 9 o'clock, they said, we're never going to close our residence halls. We're good. And at 1 o'clock the same day, they closed their residence halls and said, everybody has to leave by Sunday, right? So we've tried to avoid that. We've tried to make decisions, based on data and when the time allows. And I think we need to do a little better job of explaining that, because because of the uncertainty, sometimes people get frustrated. Well, what's our masking policy going to be? What's our testing policy going to be? What, when are we actually going to have to be back in our offices? Well, we've got 3 months to figure all those things out, and we're going to do it on the timeline that makes sense based on data, and in working with other community leaders. And so I've been really blessed to have a very experienced leadership team. The fact that, the provost and I have worked together for 9 years is a tremendous asset. And so that leadership team that we've had, where we trust each other, we like each other, we work together well, has kind of helped us make it through this. I frankly think the harder decisions are ahead of us on the reopening rather than behind us on the transition. But we're just going to lean into that team and trust each other and try to make decisions on a timeline that makes sense, and then do our best to communicate.
Well, you guys do a great job communicating. And Shelly, if you want to feel fired up, find the video that they pushed out when they said they were definitely opening in the fall, and it'll make you feel really good. So
Okay.
Wait, I just want to.
It's on the homepage of the website, so
Okay.
it's a good one, I think.
Really good. Your video team always does a great job, but that one just had a lot of hope. I mean, I know when I saw it, I thought, okay, game on. This is good news. So we'll just leave quickly with Clif and Lahi. I just would like for you to each share something that is positive that has come from this experience, or that you have really been thankful for when you reflect on this time later, that you'll recall as a good memory. So Lahi, do you have one that we could start with you?
Yeah, I think I realized that a lot of my time that I've kind of spent before COVID-19 was just going with the flow, doing the things that I was just doing, and I never kind of took time to realize the people that I've left out, whether that's like family back at home. So I've taken a lot of time this time to reach out and talk to people and just kind of create dialogue. And like what Dr. Farnan said, it's okay to not feel okay. And I've never kind of like expressed emotion up until this time. So I think I've learned that it's okay to express emotions, and that it's totally fine to do that.
Clif?
For me, two things. You all know we're in the middle of a campaign to raise money called Onward Upward, which we really put on hold. And yet we have had 3 amazing gifts come through because people want to make a difference in the university that just came to us. And so that is really uplifting. And they all connect to scholarships and making it better for students. That's been really gratifying. And then the other thing is, I really think from our leadership team all the way through our employees, their spirit in 99% of them embracing this and trying to be supportive of students. I got an amazing email just last week about how a student was struggling, much as Lahi has described, and that a faculty member reached out specifically to her, turned her around. And so I can get emotional about that kind of thing, because that is people embracing kindness and empathy. I talk about that all the time. It's even more important when we're in challenging times than when we're in good times. Mm-hmm. And by and large, our team has really done that.
Thank you guys both for sharing those. And Shelly, could you, if people want more help or more access to Burrell's services, could you fill us in a little bit about how we could access that?
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that I had left out earlier. Always knowing when ourselves or the people around us need something beyond what they or we are able to offer. So if there are so many amazing resources in our community, I am honored to work on behalf of Burrell Behavioral Health. We are here. We are available 24/7. So for prevention daily, we do Be Well community experiences on Facebook Live, or if you want to join us by Zoom, you can. Those are 12:45 to 1:15. We've received feedback of, hey, I go to therapy, community, but we're so thankful to take care of ourselves daily in this Be Well community. So everyone is welcome to that. We often try to have a lot of fun and fuel that hope, much like President Smart does. If you check out our website, we have all of the information there about our services. If you'd like an appointment or talk to someone in person or talk to someone on the phone about a question, that's that 5000 number. And then we always have our crisis line available to anyone that needs that, and the number is provided there as well.
Thank you so much. You guys really just do such a beautiful job, and we're so lucky to have you here in 417 land. So thank you so much, Clif, for your time and just appreciate your leadership, your authenticity, and the way that you're navigating everything for Missouri State. It's really great for our whole community to have to point to. And Lahi, thank you so much for your time today. You are so impressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have a job offer after this webinar. So,
me too.
Yeah. And Dr. Farnan, thank you so much for guiding us through this entire Life Interrupted series. And it's really just been so helpful, and I think a lot of people have found this really helpful. If you know of someone who would benefit from seeing these, they are all on our 417mag.com website and YouTube channel. And so they can be viewed at any time. If someone couldn't catch it live and you know that it would be of help to them, please share it with them. I hope everyone found some comfort in this today and some excitement for the future, and knowing that we have a Missouri State fall to look forward to. But thank you guys all so much for your time and sharing your hearts and your wisdom today. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Logan, you are phenomenal. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, 417, for bringing this conversation, making it available to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Logan.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you all.